Hello and welcome back. As you see, I've completed all the tiling on the floor completely, and I've also started a bit of the weathering. As you can tell, the difference between the storage room, the middle part, and the kitchen part here. And this weathering is just actually the deck grout material that I created for the walls, being this, which is a little bit of the hydrocal plaster and black and brown pigments mixed in together. And that's what I apply. Just apply it with a brush and just brush it in and work it into all the cracks, nooks, and crannies as well. So it gives a little bit of a dirtier use appearance for the storage room. I'll do something similar here, except I'll try and concentrate it so it's within the walkway, the path from the door to here, and the two doorways leading into the kitchen and leading into the storage room. For the kitchen, I'm going to try and keep it a bit of a lighter, not as dirty. We'll be able to keep it that way, and I'll be back once that's completed. Oh, and the other thing is here in the back, if you might notice here in the back, I've also tiled the outside area here for the stairs. These are the smaller tiles. These are actually the same mold that I used for the wall in the kitchen, except I casted them in the same multicolored pattern as the floor here. And also I have the fireplace here in place, not glued in yet. I'll glue that in a little later. Alright, so I'll be back once I finish the weathering here. Thank you. Hello and welcome back. Alright, so I did the light weathering on the floor here. Going lighter in the kitchen and darker here in the store area. I also did weathering here on the tiles here in the back. In addition to the dry powder, I also apply a bit of the wet wash to it to give it a bit more of a grungier, dirtier, blending it more of the back steps here. Since it is outside, it'll probably be dirtier and whatnot. Now my next step for here is to finish building out this retainer wall that's going to go along here using those same stones. So I'll be back after I've completed that. Hello. Alright, so here I am. I finished the back wall here, the retainer wall, and plugged up the area that I had previously cut out with some of the extra foam bits here. And I also colored it in and blended it in with the rest of the stonework. So for right now, this area is more or less completed. Obviously, all this will be hidden once we do all the landscaping and so forth. So I'm now going to turn my attention to the kitchen to do those cabinets storage area on either side of the fireplace. Okay, so here in the kitchen, I'm going to set up the build the little cabinet storage area for either side, some shelving and so forth. So what I'm going to use is those same little 2mm thick balsa wood sheets that I have here, the same ones I used to build the stairs I showed earlier. So first step was just to, first of all, I don't have this glued in yet. Leave it out just to have some maneuvering room to install and build those cabinets. But the first thing was to take my calipers and just measure the space here. So right now they're both about 29 millimeters wide. So that's the width of my cabinet. And then I'll take the measurements for the depth. And from there I will build out a simple cabinet for this. All right? So I'll be back with that. Okay, so here I am. I did one of the first cabinets here, cabinet storage area. This was all made of balsa wood. Specifically, I use one of these little 100mm square or 4 inches square pieces of balsa wood. The pieces that you see there on top, that's the leftover pieces from one of them. So approximately, if I had laid it out correctly and planned it out, I could have just used one half of one of these sheets to construct that cabinet there. Now, one thing you might notice is that originally I had this mantle here on the fireplace extending past the edge of the fireplace. So this just doesn't really work or fit very well with these cabinets here. So I'm just going to carefully cut these off using it's a saw blade, the Tamiya one that I showed you earlier. Being this, I'm going to use this one. And off camera, I'm going to carefully trim that off and build another cabinet and put it there. Alright, so I'll be back with that. Okay, so here we are back with both cabinets in place. I think they're decently matched, although one's slightly shorter by a millimeter or a half a millimeter, one slightly wider slightly than the other. But I think they look pretty close enough together for the purposes of this. If you may notice, they also have a little bit of a color. I took some oil paints and gave them a little bit of a color. Basically, it's just using these little cheap paints from Michael's, a little bit of white, a little bit of yellow ochre, to give it that little bit of a pale yellow, warm white color to it. Don't know if I'll keep that, but I'll live with it for a little bit and decide later on. I also need to put some hardware on the doors down here in the bottom for these, so I gotta make up some handles for that. As you see, I cut off the edges of the mantle here, and I rounded off the corners a little bit, which I think makes sense to me. If you're working with here, you don't want a really sharp corner there. So I think that's gonna wrap it up for this update. My next update, I think I'm gonna work on the doors, the door frames and doors, the back door and the two doors for the two rooms here, and then work on the framing for the windows. I still have more stuff to do here in the kitchen, tables or other type of storage on the walls, but I'll work on that later. Okay, well, thank you all for watching. I appreciate the views, the likes, and the comments. Take care, everyone.